You have the story idea. Maybe it's that gritty, high-stakes sci-fi saga or, the historical fiction that's keeping you up at night. But the problem isn't the idea.
No, not at all.
It's turning that flash of inspiration into a career. And, more critically, it's actually finishing the manuscript when life and that little voice of self-doubt gets in the way.
That is the wall. It's the single greatest barrier that I think most aspiring writers just never cross. They stay hobbyists because they treat writing like a luxury instead of a business, a craft.
Right. So today, that's what this deep dive is all about. We're looking for a shortcut to becoming a consistently productive professional writer. We dove into a source called WriteWell, which is all for serious writers, to pull out the big shifts in mindset, strategy, and daily practice.
And we're really looking at what it takes to stop writing like a hobbyist and start writing for professionals, which means, dealing with the cold, hard business demands like getting an agent and mastering that mindset shift. You need to handle rejection and just stay focused.
Okay, so let's unpack those first steps because they're a little counterintuitive. If you want to write a novel, the source says you don't actually start with the novel.
Exactly. You start small. The advice is all about professional training. So you prioritize short pieces, first articles, short stories for journals.
And why is that? Is it just about the money?
Well, yes, it generates a little income, which is nice, but that's really secondary. The main thing is you get exposed to editorial feedback. You start writing for professionals, and that forces you to become one.
So it's about learning to take direction. The author had this brilliant analogy for it. She wrote articles for 5 years,
Yeah.
before she even tried to write a book.
Right.
And she says trying to write a novel without that experience is like a surgeon trying to do brain surgery before they've even learned how to carve a turkey.
It's a perfect analogy. It's about practicing structure, respecting deadlines, and it prepares you for that other unavoidable part of the business, which is rejection. Developing a thick skin is just mandatory. You have to accept that no one's work is loved by everyone.
But thick skin doesn't mean ignoring all criticism, right? The source has a smarter take on it. It says, look for themes. If 3 different readers all flag the same problem.
Then it's a real problem.
Yeah. If they all say the pacing in the middle is weak, then the flaw is probably real.
Absolutely. Readers know when they get bored. A single critique, that's subjective. But 3 identical critiques, that's a mandate to revise.
Okay, so let's pivot to the business side. You have the craft down. How do you get an agent's attention when they're getting, thousands of queries a year?
The answer is high concept. It's all about the power of high concept.
The big, catchy idea.
It's the essential attention grabber. A high concept is just a story with a clear, easily communicated premise, a unique what-if that you can sum up in 1 to 3 sentences.
It's the ultimate elevator pitch. It just screams market viability.
Exactly. This is the difference between, say, pitching a romance about a woman finding love in post-war London, which is fine, but it's low concept,
right,
versus summarizing Meg as Jurassic Shark, or the show Firefly as Cowboys in Space.
Cowboys in Space. Yeah, I get it immediately. And the numbers here are pretty brutal, aren't they?
They are. Agents see thousands of queries, but only about 5% really land in that I must read more category. And that's where high concept lives.
Because it's less risky for the publisher.
It's all about reducing risk. If they can sell the idea in 1 sentence to a sales team, a bookstore, a reader, the investment is so much safer.
So high concept gets you through the door.
Yeah.
But once you're in, there's a strategy for staying there. Publishers want authors to stick to one genre.
Yes, for steady, predictable sales. And this requires a ton of commitment. Agent Donald Mass recommends that new authors complete at least, get this, 5 novels in one genre.
5 novels.
5, before they even think about branching out.
Wow. That sounds like a recipe for creative burnout. How do you stay fresh doing that? That seems monumental.
It is a monumental task, but the source argues it's about refinement, not just repetition. By that 5th novel, you've not only mastered the genre, you've developed your own unique voice within it. It's an investment in your market credibility.
You're building an audience that knows what to expect from you.
Exactly. And for writers who want to try something else, like a cozy mystery writer who suddenly wants to write horror, there's always the pen name.
Like Louisa May Alcott writing thrillers as A.M. Barnard.
That's the professional move. You satisfy your core audience with your main name, and you get to explore other passions without confusing the market or, diluting your brand.
Which takes us from strategy to execution. So how do we deal with feedback and really hone our technical skill? The main directive here is pretty simple. Resist the urge to resist.
This is so crucial. It really speaks to humility. When a seasoned pro, an editor, an agent gives you advice, they're not attacking your art. They're giving you market expertise.
So instead of fighting them on every little detail.
Just fix the problem. The professional thing to do is just fix it.
And accepting that feedback is tied to moving through these 4 stages of competence. It starts with unconscious incompetence.
Which is when you don't know what you don't know. You think you're writing well, but you have no idea how much you're missing.
And then you get that first real critique, and you hit conscious incompetence.
Yes, the oh no moment, where you realize just how much you have to learn, and it can be paralyzing. The only way out is through conscious competence, where you are actively, deliberately working to implement all those new skills.
And the final goal is unconscious competence, where you're just writing well automatically, like it's second nature, but you're still open to new skills.
That is the hallmark of a pro. They can tell you why something works. They can fix technical problems on demand.
Okay, let's get tactical.
Oh,
What are some of those technical pitfalls writers need to master?
a huge one. An immediate one is redundancy. The source uses a great analogy, accessorizing. You put everything on, then you take one thing off.
Less is more.
You have to be ruthless. Choose the single strongest word, the single strongest image.
So if I'm editing my own work, what should I be looking for? What are the red flags?
Look for modifiers that are already implied by the verb, like the example they give is, he clutched the rope tightly with both of his hands.
Right, clutched already means tightly, and with his hands is probably a given.
Exactly. You can just write, he clutched the rope. We add those extra words because we're anxious the reader won't get it, but it just slows everything down.
That's a huge insight. Another one they mentioned is dialogue, body beats.
Yeah, you need physical action to break up dialogue. Otherwise, it's just floating heads talking.
Yeah.
But you have to watch out for those predictable patterns. Dialogue beat, dialogue beat. It just puts the reader to sleep.
And the dreaded eyebrow calisthenics.
Yes. The repetitive movement trap. Characters are always lifting a brow, shrugging, nodding, smiling.
In every single exchange.
Every time. Vary it. Have them adjust a jacket, tap a pen, look out a window. Even an internal thought can work as a beat.
And lastly, a quick point on word choice. The source really emphasizes the nuance in vocabulary.
It's about precision. For instance, knowing the difference between mollify and appease. To mollify is internal. It's about soothing someone who's offended. But to appease is transactional. It's satisfying demands like giving in to a bully or paying off a tax collector.
That changes the whole context. And the same goes for, was it elusive versus elusive?
Precisely. Elusive means deceptive, unreal, like a politician's promise, an illusion. Elusive just means hard to grasp, like a rare animal or, the right word you're looking for. Mastering those little distinctions is where the craft really shines.
Okay, now for the big one. The struggle that stops almost everyone, no matter their skill level. Focus. We have some really detailed strategies here for just getting the work done. The source compares writing a book to eating a cow, one bite at a time.
Right, and it's all about energy management, breaking it down. The first hurdle is solving the chair problem, just the difficulty of sitting still and concentrating for a long time.
So the recommendation is writing sprints, 20 to 40 minutes, then a short break. It's basically the Pomodoro technique.
It is, and if you feel your attention wandering, you physically rotate your stations. You move from your desk to a comfy chair or the couch. It kind of resets your brain.
And for people who lose track of time.
A visual timer is critical. It externalizes time and makes it feel more like a game, like you're trying to beat the clock. It engages that competitive part of your brain.
And we can actually hack our brains to enjoy writing. How do we do that? Manipulate the dopamine.
You use associative pairing. So you pair your writing session with a specific treat, a certain coffee, a specific playlist, so your brain starts to associate writing with pleasure. Eventually, it starts to crave the session itself for that little dopamine hit.
And you get more of those hits by breaking the task into tiny wins, micro goals.
Yeah.
So instead of write chapter 5, you shoot for write 200 words.
Exactly. Achieving that gives you a little dopamine bump, which fuels the next sprint. It's a feedback loop.
And to avoid stalling out, outlining first is key. It reduces decision fatigue.
Oh, massively. When you sit down, you want to be writing, not trying to figure out what happens next.
For fiction, the source suggests using a plot skeleton. Why is that specific roadmap so effective?
because it forces you to hit all the key emotional and structural beats before you write a single line of prose. You have to define your protagonist, their ordinary world, and the thing that throws them into the special world.
And you have to figure out the complications and the bleakest moment.
And that bleakest moment is so important. Defining that point of maximum despair prevents that dreaded middle-of-the-book slump. You're always writing towards something.
Which all feeds into this daily writing ritual for consistency. It starts with priming the brain.
Yes, a repeatable cue. Make a specific tea, light a candle, whatever signals to your brain, okay, this is the writing zone. Then you set that tiny micro goal, something so small you know you can hit it, 25 minutes or 200 words.
Then you go into the fast draft sprint. No editing allowed.
Absolutely no editing. You just engage the creative side of the brain. And when you take a break, you move your body, but you have to avoid scrolling social media.
Because it hijacks your brain.
It totally does. And you have to end with a closure ritual. Jot down where you'll start tomorrow, tidy up your desk. The beauty of this is you're not forcing a rigid schedule. You're just building progress in these short, focused bursts, and you're stacking them until a book quietly appears on your computer.
Okay, we've covered strategy, craft, productivity. But the source suggests that none of this really matters if the writer doesn't commit to this final, more profound step. The real work isn't about technical skill.
This is where we move beyond mechanics into real depth. The source quotes an essayist, Henrik Carlson, who argued the hard part isn't grammar. The hard part is working to become a person who can think interesting thoughts. That means growing intellectually and emotionally, reading widely, talking to people who disagree with you, just experiencing the world outside your bubble.
So if a writer only consumes things that confirm what they already believe, their book is only going to speak to that same tribe. Yeah.
Exactly. Your writing risks becoming propaganda, however unintentional. The themes are flat, the arguments are predictable, because there's no real tension or complexity.
To write for the world, you have to expand your horizons. You have to take on the challenge of nuance.
This is the acid test of a mature writer. You have to be able to fairly represent both sides of an argument, even in fiction. The author gives this powerful example from her own work.
Right.
She had to research the strong, compelling arguments for cloning technology, even though her protagonist was against it, just to make the final decision against it feel earned and difficult for the reader.
So you have to make the choice the character doesn't take seem just as attractive and rational as the one they do take. You have to understand the opposition so well, you could argue their case for them.
If the antagonist's motives are just simplistic evil, the hero's victory means nothing. True depth comes from reflecting the complexity and tension of real human experience, and that takes hard work and emotional maturity.
So we've covered everything you need to start writing like a professional. From genre strategy, getting those 5 novels done, to the technical fixes like killing the eyebrow calisthenics and that crucial daily ritual for focus.
And remember the perseverance part. The source brings up that Lisa Kudrow anecdote. She was fired from the pilot of Frasier and was, devastated. But she took this tiny, non-speaking role on Mad About You that directly led to her getting cast as Phoebe in Friends.
You can't stay down.
You just can't. You have to pull yourself back up and keep going through those setbacks.
The author of the source material uses this powerful closing analogy. She says that you are the protagonist in your own plot skeleton. You've encountered complications, like the fear of the blank page, and maybe you're in your own bleakest moment.
But a helper, all this advice we've shared today has arrived to give you that push. You now have the skills and the mindset you need. And the final stage of any plot is the resolution, where the protagonist does something they couldn't have done before the adventure started.
So here's the final thought for you to take away. You've absorbed the lesson of this deep dive. What concrete action will you take next week? Or what new, difficult attitude will you adopt that shows you have truly learned the lesson of the professional writer?